Look, it is Tuesday, which means votes are being cast somewhere in America. And today it's 4 states, Maine and South Carolina, where we'll head momentarily, plus contests in Nevada and North Dakota. Most attention's focused on what's going on in the Pine Tree State, as Democrats appeared poised to officially choose Graham Platner as their guy to take on Republican Senator Susan Collins. Every 6 years, Collins is on the ballot. Democrats try their best to unseat her, but nothing has worked so far. There's been intrigue and support building for Platner, yet Democrats are divided over whether the military veteran turned oyster farmer is their key to stopping Collins from winning an historic 6th term. But Platner, as you likely know, is facing fresh scrutiny for past behavior, allegations he sent sexually explicit messages to other women shortly after his marriage began in 2023, and alleged, quote, unsettling behavior by Platner towards women he dated. One of those women described him as toxic and abusive. He's denied physical abuse and suggested the allegations are politically motivated, and he's acknowledged struggling with PTSD and alcohol during what he called a very dark period in my life. Should he win tonight, Maine's Democrats will have chosen a candidate facing allegations similar to those made against many other Republican candidates and office holders in recent years in different races across the country. So does it neutralize or cancel out the issue of a candidate's character this year across the country? That's one of the big unanswered questions of 2026. But in Maine, at least, it appears enough Democratic primary voters are set to back Platner, despite his past, believing it's more important to change their Senate seat from red to blue. We have primary team coverage tonight. CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns is at Platner headquarters in Blue Hill, Maine. CBS News chief Washington analyst Robert Costa is with me here in Washington. CBS's Skylar Henry is in Greenville, South Carolina, and our executive director of elections and surveys, Anthony Salvanto, is in our New York studio. But let's begin with Caitlin up in Maine. Lovely time of year to be up there. And Caitlin, to our opening point there, what is the bigger priority for the voters you've been speaking with? Condemning the Platner scandal or flipping the Senate?
Hey, Ed, good to see you. I mean, this is no Madison Square Garden, but it is the next best thing. Maine in June. Happy for this assignment here. I mean, we were paying attention to this race before these most recent controversies broke out, because this was the race that was going to help determine the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. And now it is also going to be a test of how much voters can tolerate when it comes to these candidates and getting their own priorities, their own policies, their own party to succeed. And that's really what we've been hearing from supporters of Graham Platner today and throughout the weekend. As we've been here, we were outside a polling location earlier this morning. There were a lot of people coming to vote in this primary, and most of those voters told us that they were willing to look past these controversies because they had their eyes on control of the Senate. Take a listen to some of these conversations.
Listen, I don't care who he's texting. What I care about is what's going to happen in Washington and how he's going to help the people in Maine improve health care, better jobs, lower rent, all of the good things that we need for the state of Maine.
They're disturbing, and we've weighed them and talked about them, and we're not happy, but I believe his statements that he's evolving, as we all are, and he does seem to have a penitent heart.
Platner is a very imperfect candidate. However, I think it's so important that the Democrats capture this Senate seat that I'm willing to vote for a candidate whom I think is quite imperfect.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you heard it right there in that last bite. A lot of people we talked to acknowledge that he's not a perfect candidate. Some express their own personal reservations about supporting him in light of these allegations and controversies that have come to light. But the bigger picture for them was being able to flip potentially this U.S. Senate seat. And this is going to be a big battle here in Maine. It's no easy task. Even if Platner wins tonight, which he is expected to do, he's got to take on Susan Collins. And no Democrat has been able to beat her in 30 years, Ed. So they are preparing for the idea that getting through this primary was the easy part and the hard work really begins.
Yeah, and we should point out Senator Collins running unopposed tonight in the Republican primary. Caitlin, have fun tonight. We'll be in touch with you as the results come in into tomorrow. We turn now to Robert, who's with me here in Washington. You spoke last night with Vermont's Bernie Sanders, sort of the godfather of the political left, the spirit animal for so many of these progressive candidates who are running again this year. What did he have to say Well, actually, I will set this up. Let's listen to what Sanders had to say about the situation facing Graham Platner.
So I think when you look at politics in general, there are no saints in the United States Senate. People can argue about this aspect of Graham or another, but to my mind right now, we need allies in the United States Senate who have the guts to take on the big money that is dominating this country, who have the guts to say that every American is entitled to health care as a human right, who have the guts to say that maybe we don't give tax breaks to billionaires, but demand that they start paying their fair share of taxes. People who have the guts, and in his case, from a very personal experience, that we don't go into wars unless we know what we are fighting for and unless those wars are based on truth, not lies. I'm supporting Graham Platner.
There are no saints in the United States Senate, he said. He's probably right about that. But what else did he have to say about Platner? Is there a red line he's not willing to cross if further allegations come out? And what does he make of how Republicans are taking him on?
Ed, to paraphrase that Hunter Thompson quote, if you buy the ticket, you take the ride. And Senator Bernie Sanders was one of the first, if not the first, major figure on the left, major politician associated with the Democratic Party, a longtime independent who caucuses with the Democrats. He got behind Platner's campaign last year. And this is someone who is saying, I'm sticking with him. And he sees Platner as part of this group of candidates he has endorsed nationwide who are more outsider in their persona, more progressive in their political bent, anti-establishment, a little bit rough around the edges in terms of how they deal with the Democratic Party, how they talk about Wall Street, a little bit more economic populist in their message. And we see in Senator Sanders somebody who's still trying to pull the Democratic Party to the left. His Fighting Oligarchy tour in 2025 got enormous crowds across the country. His political future at this point, probably not going to run for president in 2028, but it's clear with Platner and others, he's trying to create a farm team of those who are in his image politically. And so he's sticking by him. And you see, this is really part of a bigger story in American politics. It's been almost 10 years since President Trump, then candidate Trump, dealt with the Access Hollywood scandal and questions of character bubbled to the surface. And we saw President Trump, then candidate Trump, barrel through that controversy. And barreling through controversy is, as you said at the top, really now a mode for many politicians, right or left.
Right. I mean, and it's been 30-plus years since Bill Clinton did it. So, you know, this issue of does it matter anymore, you could argue voters have been saying for more than 30 years, no, it doesn't necessarily, if this is someone they agree with. Stick around. You've had a busy 24 hours. We have a little bit more of your work coming up.